Today, my guest is Michelle Sparck. Michelle and her sisters, Amy and Jika, founded ArXotica, a high-end skincare product company that features Arctic botanicals. With a combined background in marketing, policy, and politics, plus a very inspired idea, they built a company that is committed to sustainable business practices and providing economic opportunities to the indigenous people of Alaska. Based in Bethel, the company has been recognized nationally and I think internationally, right? Michelle and her sisters are members of the Cupik tribe of Southwest Alaska. Welcome, Michelle.
Can
you tell me how to pronounce the name of your tribe in your
language? So the Cupik tribe, yes, is called the Kishinimut tribe.
Thank you. Well, it's so great to have you here today with us. Can you tell us a little bit about how you guys got started? What was the origin of ArXotica?
Yeah, you know, the Alaska Federation of Natives was really trying to think outside the box for economic development, and especially in rural areas of the state. So they were actually working with the World Bank, you know, and other outlets that work with developing countries. And a lot of the modalities are very applicable to places like Alaska because we have, you know, we're an oil-rich state, we're in a first world country, but we have a lot of third, or what my father called the fourth world problems, you know, in our areas that are off the grid. So honey buckets, you know, no running water, all those kind of challenges that kind of don't fit the rubric of traditional Western economy. Right. So AFN came up with an incentive for entrepreneurs to start writing out some plans, even if they weren't sophisticated or had the tools to do these kind of things. At least they wrote something out and took the time and submitted these ideas. And AFN hosted a business competition. So while Jika, who's our art, I call her our art department, she does all the graphics for all of our and our logo and everything and our packaging. And so she did the logo for Alaska Marketplace. And then she's like, hey, don't we have ideas, you know? And so my sisters and I, you know, we had full-time jobs, we were starting families, you know, all that good stuff. But of course we had to add on to that. So we decided, let's create a business. So what do we know best? And it was harvesting, gathering since we were toddlers. So, you know, toddling along in the tundra, picking a little cup full of berries and plants or egging or something for our grandparents. And so we earned our keep since children. And so we thought, hey, let's do a skincare line. We know all of this stuff fits the gaps, the nutrition gaps in a very high protein indigenous diet.
Exactly.
How do we fit everything else that we needed to develop healthily and with wellness, with, you know, all this wild fish and game, all this wild protein? It's like, where was everything else coming from to give us, you know, vitamin D from the sun? Sure, but all the other stuff, where does that come from?
Right.
Well, the protein came from bones and the wild game we ate, and, you know, a lot of that was leached into our system in the process. But, you know, for all the wild plants and berries that we harvest in such a limited window of activity, but, you know, we're getting midnight sun saturation in these plant life. So even though it's a very short
amazing. I love how you have tapped into that. And in my conversations with Jika, she's talked about some of the papers and some of the research that shows you have
anti-aging or antioxidant levels. Yes.
It's
and we hired an ethnobotanist. We did all of our homework. We did a lot of R&D before we even came out with product. So we wanted to show.
Let me just jump in here for one quick second, because I feel like you're kind of just gliding into the next step, which is starting to write the business plan and actually begin to build the business. So what you're saying is, to follow up, you started a business plan in response to AFN. They said they had a competition. Did you guys win?
We did, and it was a $10,000 prize. And BP and a bunch of other big sponsors were there, and they were so blown away by the effort of all the contestants that I think it was top 10 winners got $10,000, and then some of the others got, you know, a little less startup money, but they still got something. But they doubled all of our ask.
That never
Right
happens.
before they even awarded, the prizes. So we won $20,000 out of the get-go.
That's
And
incredible.
that's what we put into our R&D is like, okay, ethnobotany, let's do all the botanical profiles of this stuff. Which ones are we going to choose to do? And so, writing a business plan is, we didn't have business backgrounds, but, we Googled. Google was still a thing back then. And, we did talk to the SBA. We got some guidance.
I was curious about that. That's actually one of the things I wanted to ask you about, is whether you had made use of resources like maybe, I know that there's the Alaska Business Development Center from the SBA, there's the Anchorage Economic Development Corporation, there's...
Right. And AEDC did help us out on subsequent business plans for more of a bigger pot of money. So all told, and it's unheard of, and I wish hindsight, being 2020, that we kind of used this unprecedented amount of winnings in a different way, so that when we debuted with product, we would have actually had a marketing budget. But as it were, we got all told almost $90,000 worth of startup money over
Fantastic.
years.
That's amazing. So you three really put your heads together. That means you wrote a good business plan.
Right.
I mean, people don't throw money at business plans that aren't solid. So did anyone work with you on writing out the projections, like the financial analysis for how much cash flow it was going to take to start your company?
Well, AFN, their hearts were really in the right place, and they did kind of have economic advisors on tap to help guide us through the growing pains, putting that business plan into fruition. And I think we went through 2 or 3 advisors that kind of just disappeared along the way. So when I say hindsight's 2020, if we had a lot more guidance in the beginning, especially with that kind of money, and we did get a Bureau of Indian Affairs loan to help finance our first product run.
Was that through one of the CDFIs?
No, it wasn't through that. It was just it was with First National Bank of Alaska, and the BIA guaranteed our loan. So it was
awesome.
it was through the bank, and they did guarantee our loan. So we went through that. I think it was either 4 or 7%. I might be mixing it up with mortgages and other stuff that had nothing to do with it, but it was a relatively good rate. But it was a mortgage-sized payment every month for our business.
So you really had. How old was your company at that point?
When we first got the loan, I would say we're about 2 years old, maybe.
Okay. So then all of a sudden you had to have sales to make those payments.
Right. But like I said, we did a lot of R&D. So we only started selling our soaps because after we did value-added processing, and we did it with really great technology that wouldn't burn off the nutrients, because we really wanted a high ORAC number, which is how they measure the antioxidants of a plant life. So, goji berries are a rock star berry, and It has everything in it. Everybody aspires to that kind of level of nutrients in a plant life. And so we did the botanical profiles and the ethnobotany and everything for our signature ingredients, and they were off the charts. I mean, they were really incredible.
I just love your product, and I have to tell everyone that if they haven't tried it, they should try the anti-aging serum.
Kyungli means the potent one, and our mother helped us name that. So we decided that the name had to be bequeath the value of the integrity of our ingredient list. So not only do we have crowberry, fireweed, and Arctic sage in there, which is represented a plant, a berry, and a flower of the tundra. Not only did we have that in there, but we had extra virgin cold pressed salmon oil, and we used the water from Eklutna Lake, which is naturally ionized glacier water. So
it's a beautiful product.
It was ridiculously like the best of Alaska in a bottle, and that was worthy of the name Kyungli. So
I think so. I want to touch on something, since you're talking about back home and the plants back home. I know one of the things that you're really proud of is the ability to do some hiring locally. Can you talk about what kind of opportunities you provide back home and what kind of impact that has?
Right now it's actually kind of a subsistence-based effort because a little goes a long way, and that's what we've discovered in this whole process is that, you know, even if we pick 200 pounds today, and then we dry them and process them. I mean, we've got gallons full, you know, of industrial grade botanicals left that we can put into soaps, and a tiny pinch, you know, just like with cooking, you know, you just need a little bit. So with the soaps and all the different products and the extracts we make, we don't actually have a huge footprint in terms of our production. So, you know, our desire is to create our own manufacturing facilities,
Right.
with good technology that doesn't leave a footprint, that's not, you know, largely carbon dependent. So what we've been able to do, at least for our modest means, because we've never hit really serious sales records in every year. It's kind of consistent, and I'm not going to say what it is right now, but what we've been able to do is at least pay for people's gas. We provide vouchers, so we pay for their gas for their efforts to go out, and we pay them by the pound. So it's a very subsistence level economy for us to provide. So we haven't been able to provide jobs, but
Okay.
at least been able to help people pay their fuel bill, you
Okay.
know, pay off their credit at the local stores. So
Right.
very modest.
So I just want to touch on something that I found while I was preparing to talk to you today. I came upon a quote from a book called "The Soul of a Startup," and it reminded me so much of your startup story. The quote is, "There's an essential, intangible something in startups, an energy, a soul. It inspires people to contribute their talent, money, and enthusiasm, and fosters a sense of deep connection and mutual purpose." And I feel like this is what you're talking about with the people that you bring that bring you plants that are helping you gather the inputs for your product. You're still partly in the startup phase where you're inspiring people to get involved and to be a part of the process. But it's been a few years since you started. So how do you keep your enthusiasm up?
Well, you know, it was a labor of love. And I think for a lot of startups, and that's what we encourage a lot of people when they come to us for advice, which we find amusing because we're like, you know, we're so subsistence level as a company.
Oh, you're a success.
Well, we're still here. And I think to us, we're like, you know,
That's huge.
we paid off a loan. We paid off 2 Kiva loans. We got international donors, you know, for these campaigns. And so we've always paid off our debts, you know, but, you know, we're just kind of keeping a little bit ahead above water in terms of growth. So, you know, we're still here. And I know that's an achievement in and of itself. But, you know, and with COVID, ironically, we found a whole new niche in doing serum infused hand sanitizers and sprays.
I
So,
love that. I've been watching that on social media, and when I
right.
saw it, I thought, oh, that's awesome.
Product development, you know, we never thought we'd get into that kind of business, but you know, we're not trying to profit off this situation. This is a terrifying situation for everybody, and we've been very clear from the get-go. This is not an answer to your COVID concern. You know, please wash your hands, wear
Right.
masks, social distance. This is not a magic bullet, you know, but you know, you're going to be putting a little bit of our land and water in your hands every day or on your face. And at least it's a little nourishing, and may this help you through your day and anxiety, you know.
And if I can just throw in my endorsement for my favorite scent and your soap line and the scents that you have. And I'm not sure exactly how you get this scent, but it's so beautiful. It's the Cotton Tundra.
Mm.
Oh, it brings me back to my childhood. I just love it.
Right. And I think a lot of people think about clotheslines, you know, hanging up their clothes on the clotheslines and just having the Bering Sea winds, you know, pummel. So it's a
So
good.
we have to do the hand washing and the hand sanitizing, and
Yeah.
we can add a little bit of joy to that.
Yeah, exactly. And what we always go back to is it's our brand of TLC, and we call it Tundra Loving Care.
Tundra Loving Care. I'm glad you got that in there.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one last question because I think we're running out of time. But do you have any specific advice? You said hindsight is 2020. I know you've learned a lot. This series of interviews is intended to give people in Alaska, particularly in rural Alaska, some ideas, to give them some inspiration that, there are abilities to start companies out in Alaska. What advice would you have for someone who's maybe looking at starting their own business in Alaska, whether it's an individual or maybe a village native corporation?
Yeah, we've had, there's a lot more sophistication with 8A corporations and villages or individuals able to collaborate with their tribes. So there's a lot of resources that a lot of us don't tap into. It can be with your traditional council even. It doesn't even have to be a native corporation. So there's a lot of community grants through the Department of Commerce that you can partner up with your tribe to get a business started, and you can get all kinds of infrastructure money for those programs. So a lot of it involves research, and not, with our bandwidth in situations like that, it is difficult to get that kind of research done. But if you find someone within an 8A or a native corporation that's willing to do some grant writing for you, those are experts. Those are people that know how to tap into those things for you. Try to find, for our advice to people that want to start up is like, try to find the experts to help you. Not necessarily carpetbaggers of old, like when we first created our native corporations. Yeah. But find people that are going to be as invested in it as you are. They're not just going to walk away with their check after they've done their job for you. Try to create some partnerships and get their expertise and guide you, and try to navigate the mishaps you're going to have in your growth. But
it's not going to be easy. I made some notes about how startups are tough, but you're tough women.
Well, yeah. And we can get into anything. We can get into ball bearings, we can get into polishing missiles, for crying out loud, which some of our
truly aerospace contract manufacturing.
Cottage industry is a big deal, and whether it be Etsy or PayPal or whatever, there's so many mechanisms for authentic jewelry or salves or anything that anyone's doing back home. It's possible for you to make a good living that way. And salmonberry dreams, or tundraberry up in Barrow, or Utqiagvik. There's so many great enterprising ladies that we see on Instagram.
Exactly. Alice Byoff from Nome has that beautiful line of cuspleks that she's manufacturing. I don't know if you've seen those.
And it doesn't have to be small scale stuff. A lot of these people grow pretty big, and Indian country is now becoming a really good economic force to promote native businesses. So we all should have each other's back. There's plenty of room for this competition. We don't find anybody else a threat to us. There's room at the table. So
really, it's so true. There is room for everybody. And I love that spirit of support that you three have about yourselves and the community. And you're so giving in terms of encouraging others and sharing your story. Really, sharing your story is a big deal, I think, to give people courage to try. Then there are opportunities to do business plan competitions still. There's Alaska Growth Capital, I think, does them, and from the ASRC region, they have a competition.
A lot of the regions have started startup competitions. So, you guys just got to read your little papers,
Right, exactly. So people who have an idea for a business might want to just start by entering a contest like you did, and maybe you'll end up like ArXotica. Well, thanks, Michelle, for being here today. It's really been wonderful. I could talk to you forever, but let's stop here. I hope maybe when we have the Norton Sound Economic Summit, maybe one or more of you triplets will come up and be a speaker at the summit in 2021.
We'd love to. Yes.
And next week I'll be talking with Gail Schubert, CEO of Bering Straits Native Corporation.
Our first customer ever.
Oh, Gail! She's a great supporter for other Alaska Natives. So that's awesome. I'm not surprised to hear that. So she'll be here next week. So until then, everybody be safe and take care. And it was so good talking to you, Michelle.
Brianna, Biura.
Take good time. Bye.